Today I'm driving the most exciting car of the year. Which year? Every year!
Yes, it's the all-new 2018/19 Suzuki Jimny. Yes, this is the coolest car of every year ever. If you think a car is cool because it does what it's meant to do unbelievably well, with no messing around, no pretension, no fakeness, this is the most genuine car you're ever going to see. And on top of that, it looks awesome. From a distance, this actually looks like quite a big car, but get close up and you realise it really is pocket size. It's 30mm shorter than the previous generation, but 45mm wider, so it's got a really nice, almost square, stable platform. The Jimny was always awesome off-road, and this just gets better and better. And to that end, it's still built on a ladder frame chassis. It's one of the few cars that's still built on an actual solid ladder frame, with apparently stiffer rubber bushes now, so it's got better torsional rigidity.
The frame has a new X-Cross member, giving more strength and stronger solid axles with high tensile steel in the front and a larger rear axle, 30% bigger than the previous generation, making it even tougher than before.
As well as all that mechanical grip the thing gets from being a stiff body and a nice solid platform, it's also got driver aids and things which have sort of leapt ahead from the previous generation of the car.
It's got a ton of new features which weren't there on the previous car, like hill hold assist and hill descent control, high beam assist on the headlights and emergency brake assist, and just a ton of things really.
But looking at the design, it really is fantastic the way it's harked back to the previous generations, but it doesn't look like a pastiche in any way. It looks like a brand new car. It looks incredibly modern and of the moment.
The face inherits elements of the Jimny throughout the years, with the round headlights coming from the original LJ10 from 1970 and the second generation SJ410. The grille echoes the SJ and third generation car, which became more civilised than before, but this new version is just a world apart.
The one bit of fakery on the car you will find are those two fake vents just in front of the wing mirror,
which hark back to the SJ410.
The styling carries on the traditions of earlier Jimnys, or the last Jimny anyway, of the very, very boxy, square-shaped styling. In fact, it's virtually a K car. If you take off those plastic arch extensions, I think it actually fits in the K dimensions.
This test car looks great and really fun in brisk blue, but when I buy one, because this has made it to my list of cars that I am definitely going to buy one day, along with an Austin 7, a Ford Crown Victoria, and it's too many others, I'm going to choose Kinetic Yellow, because I just love the way that just leaps out of the background of the world and just slaps you in your face. The boxy design is actually ingenious. It gives the car a kind of a purposeful utilitarian feel at the same time as being quite elegant and attractive. But more than that, it fills the corners of the shape the car occupies, giving you the maximum space inside. At the Tokyo Auto Salon, this was the most modified car out there. There were replicas of G-Wagons, Defenders, monster trucks, you name it, it was being done.
The spare wheel's still on the back door. It's where it's always lived. It's traditional. It looks good. It's part of the identity of this thing. And also, it's practical. If you're off-roading and you've got a muddy tyre, it's easy to get this one off the back and the dirty one stays outside the car, not getting the inside of the car dirty. And it frees up plenty of space for luggage inside, where it's a tiny vehicle, so, space is a premium. On this fourth generation car, the taillights have moved into the back bumper. It's not just for styling purposes, it means the back door can be a load wider. It means it can open wider and fit more stuff in there. There's not a huge amount of room behind these seats when the seat backs are back. They do, however, go vertical, giving a bit more space for, small sized bags, or they fold down completely, giving 377 litres of space. And slightly unusually, the space beside the back seats is like solid plastic, so the rear bench is kind of recessed in the middle. This means you have a completely flat plastic area, or load space area, to put your stuff in, which is actually quite useful. This interior is rugged, practical, and there's a ton of space in here. There's also a GoPro I forgot to take off the windscreen. Everything in here is big and chunky and tough. The dials are easy to get hold of. They're big and easy to get your finger onto. If you had a big glove on, you could pull one of these dials easily. It looks like it's going to wipe clean easily. There's easy to clean off plastic, and rubber mats come in the thing as standard. I particularly like the surroundings, the bezels if you like, around the speedo and tachometer. They look a bit like Bell & Ross flight watches, those square ones with the big Allen key holes in them. It's a nice little affectation, but I think it looks really, really cool. Nice little detail they didn't have to bother with, but they did, and they've carried on the Allen key bolt theme across the dashboard. It gives it all like a really industrial, chunky, tactile feel. And it is a chunky, tactile car. On the passenger side, you've got the FM bar, so passengers can hang on tight as the car is going up or possibly vertically down ridiculous inclines or driving on its side. I'm not sure what the breakover angle is on this, but I think it's going to be like 45 degrees or so. Down here, practically, you've got a 12-volt socket and you've got a USB socket, so you can connect to the real world in the wild. The only thing you can't touch when you've got your big chunky gloves on is this touchscreen LCD, which has got smartphone connection, so you can use, you know, Android and Apple stuff, DAB radio, sat nav, and it's got voice control as well. And because, you know, we're not animals here, we have heated seats in the front. How nice is that? And a carefully and considerately placed cup holder behind there that's not going to interfere with any of the controls like so many cup holders do when they're down in the centre. It's not going to get in the way of the gear shift or the handbrake or anything like that. This is a really well thought out car. As this is a top spec SZ5, it also comes with collision avoidance warning, lane departure warning, and that looks to me like headlamp washers. Yes, it is a headlamp washer. How cool is that? Just need wipers on the next version, please. Well, it's no secret, and it's not going to be a scoop of the year to say that the Jimny is awesome off-road. I'm not even going to bother taking it off-road in this test because everyone knows a Jimny is going to be awesome off-road. But the great thing with this new generation is it's now awesome on-road as well. Where the old Jimny might have maybe put a little stab of trepidation in your heart if you're looking at a very long motorway drive in it, because it didn't have the best high-speed road manners of all. The new Jimny addresses that unbelievably well. It's well, it is a completely different car because it's a completely different car. The ride and handling are phenomenal compared to the previous vehicle. You're still very aware that you're in a very small off-road vehicle. The ride is still fairly soft and a little bit bouncy, but it's so much better controlled now. You hit these bouncy country lanes and you're not being buffeted left and right. You really are just riding over the surface quite happily. It's a much more civilized car than it used to be. Everything feels really, really solid, very, very well made. But you expect that with Suzuki cars. You know, they are always extremely reliable, extremely tough. Even the sports cars and the city cars are all, you know, just unbreakable really. And the Jimny has always had that feel to it. Something you do notice very quickly on is that the steering lock takes a lot of turns lock to lock. So before you get into the twisty stuff, you need to get your head around that you're not in a 1.5 turn lock to lock Alfa Romeo or something. The gearbox is a 5-speed manual as standard. There's a 4-speed auto you can get as well. It's a nice feeling thing. It's easy to sort of bounce up and down between the gears. They slot in nicely and they're easy to find, which is great. Along with everything else, the controls have got a nice weight to them, and you'll notice that all the controls down here, all the controls down here are really oversized and chunky. So if you've got a big pair of gloves on, you can push the hill descent on or off, and the window switches and things. Got one touch all the way down window on the driver's side. This is the most technically advanced Jimny ever. There's a ton of features on here, like say hill descent control, excuse me, hill descent control. We've got DAB, sat nav, smartphone link. In the central binnacle here, as well as my speedo and tacho, I've got a little LCD thing in here which is giving me lane departure warning, and it's giving me the speed limit as well. The ride is pretty soft, but it is an off-road vehicle, so that's to be expected, but it does grip on. Tractor! We are in the countryside. It's got a nice level of grip, currently I'm in rear-wheel drive high, two-wheel drive high, and this thing's party trick is you can actually shift it at up to 62 miles an hour into four-wheel drive high, which is quite an impressive feat if you're sort of plugging across a field and start to lose traction. It's got a four-wheel drive low ratio as well, which a lot of smaller 4x4s don't have. This is because it is the Jimny. There's a reason that this is the off-road icon that everyone harks back to. This and the Defender are kind of the go-to default off-roader of every choice, really. This generation Jimny comes with a 1.5 litre 4-cylinder petrol, which generates 101 PS. And that doesn't sound like a huge amount considering what a lot of cars put out these days, but it moves this car really well and it's got plenty of torque, so it actually feels quite grunty on the road, and especially in the lower gears when you can really pull away rapidly, and when you're off-road in four-wheel low, it's got plenty of pull, so it's very unlikely to get stuck, because don't forget, it's an extremely light car as well. One area where the new Jimny is significantly better is on motorways and dual carriageways. At high speed, this is a completely different animal to anything that's come before in the Jimny history. I'm overtaking something. I'm currently doing 65 and the car is stable, it's not loud. I don't have any kind of qualms that I'm going to struggle stopping, and if I need to do a quick elk test to the other lane, it doesn't feel like it's going to flip on its roof. All in all, it's a wildly different experience from previous. It really does open up the market for this car to people who wouldn't have considered it before, because if in the past you had to go off-road a fair bit or tow something, but at the same time had to do a fair bit of distance driving, a Jimny might have been something you would cross off just because it just wasn't that pleasant if you had to do 2 hours somewhere up the M40. But now, you've got your touchscreen radio. You've even got voice activation on the thing, so you can just tap.
Please say a command.
Navigation.
Navigation.
Cancel.
Ending speech recognition.
This is such a different vehicle to the old crude Jimny. At the same time, it has the basic crudeness that a really good off-roader still needs, because you can't be, well, unless you're going to spend £100,000 on a Range Rover that does everything electronically, and then if you're in the wilds and a fuse goes, you are stuck in the wilds. This is proper mechanical engineering that's going to last a good long time. It's not going to break on you, and it's not going to leave you stranded. If you're going into the wilderness, this is the car you want. This car kind of feels like an excited puppy that just wants to wag its tail and be happy, and it's a car that can't help but put a smile on your face. I hope you've enjoyed my little roundup of the new Jimny. Thank you for watching. Please hit like, please hit subscribe, and see you again soon for something utterly different.